to it. So we'll go straight to the point if you're okay with it. Okay, so I would like you to introduce yourself. Then after that, there are just a few couple of questions that I realized people ask a lot on Quora and other platforms that I found out. Then we can, so that will guide our conversation to make it a bit shorter. Okay, so we will start with the brief background of yourself.
Sure. So about me, my name is Sajan Kedia. And so I have done my bachelor's and master's degree in computer science from IIT, IIT BHU Varanasi. IIT, if you know, like this is the most premium institute in India and all over the world, right? So during my master itself, I did my master's back in 2013. At that time, data science was not fancy term and nobody knew science and nothing was there, right? Like AI, ML, nothing. But still, I was very keen on, sort of attribute extraction and data mining, and that was like very interesting topic to me during my last year of my college. So I did a project and there was a paper also I published, and that was on if you see Amazon, so how can you take all the reviews and from there how can you generate some sort of sensible keyword on which you can give some sort of emphasis, right? So let's say if you are looking for a smartphone, so you must be looking for features like camera, processor, or speed, or those things, right? So soon after my master's, I joined the first company was IBM Research.
Okay.
IBM Research, IRL is India Research Lab. So that's the most premier company or research lab which works on cutting edge technology. So I was very lucky to get position in that company because at that time in India, nobody was doing data science, literally, right? So in IBM, I joined directly the actually data information team, and there I worked on project like, so this project was more about very secret project. So I worked on like related to law enforcement project. So we worked with Delhi police, we worked with Syria police. So most of the Middle East countries, we shared the demo and they were using this software which we built. So basically what it used to do is it used to take all the Twitter data, like in real time Twitter, Facebook, all the social media, and it will try to connect that who is creating unrest, like let's say some sort of protest, bomb, threatening, or those kind of event, right? So it used to detect even before that's happening, and it will raise an alert or flag to the police department or to the intelligence agencies. So there I worked for like close to 2 years. Then I quit the job. I was having my own startup for some time. It worked out. Then I actually joined a startup called Media IQ. So this startup was on ad tech, so advertisement technology. So similar to InMobi or Rocket Fuel or Google DoubleClick or Facebook ads, right? So here actually I got a lot of exposure. This was a very small company. I was the second person in the entire data team. So I was doing work of data engineer, data scientist, ML engineer, everything I was doing, right?
You're everything.
Yeah. So at that time, actually, I learned almost everything, like starting from how, because the data we had was around literally 20 terabytes of data every day. Right? So we were using Amazon Web Services, S3, then how can you get the data? How can you train the model with huge data? Because if we take 1 week of data, that will be like around 100 TB, right? So we used a lot of Hadoop, Spark, big data, distributed system. How can we do massive parallel optimization? Then I started working on the machine learning part, that how can you predict whether Bright will click on a particular iPhone ad or not, right? So sort of CTR prediction. So worked on massive classification and machine learning tasks on huge data. Worked there for close to 2 to 3 years. Then I joined Myntra. Myntra is part of Flipkart and Walmart group. So in Myntra, I'm working as a data scientist. And then recently I have moved to a role which is more sort of ML engineer and more deploying the models in very huge company, right? Like in huge e-commerce domain. Right. So here in Myntra, again, I worked on a lot of challenging problems like price optimization. So for this t-shirt, so actually I bought from Myntra. So how do you set the optimal price, right? What should be the discount? Whether it should be 40%, 30%, 20%.
Yeah.
Right? So I was working on a concept called personalized pricing. So for the same t-shirt on the same app,
Mm.
I'll be seeing, let's say 20% discount, you can see 30% discount at the same time,
I'm a
right?
victim of that.
Yeah, yeah. So something like personalized discounting and all.
Sometimes if I see one price, I copy the link, I put it in incognito, another price will come. Because
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
it's
So
using
that's
different.
because,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that's because we have the user ID and we have the lifetime data. So
great,
we try to know that what should be the sweet spot for you, right?
great, great.
Uh, then I worked on project like return prediction.
Mm,
So how can I know even before you order? So
mm,
just when you're doing your order, right? Can I know what is the probability that you'll return?
yeah.
Because that's the biggest problem in fashion, right? People
Mm,
order 10 t-shirts, then
mm,
return just 5, 6
yeah.
in India. So basically, that was a very challenging project that also I loved a lot. Now, since last 1 year, I'm mostly working on how I, like deploy or in production at scale, because scale is like millions of users at same time in 1 second.
Mm,
So how can we run these kind of massive machine learning models and generate features, everything
mm,
in real time, like in almost few milliseconds, right?
yeah.
So those are the things which I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Great, great, great. That's awesome. That's awesome experience to have. Um, okay, so I will move on to these few questions that I would like us to walk through and then get a response to them.
Mhm.
Um, the first one here is that you've been through this field for quite some time. You've experienced the ups and downs of it, and I mean, if you are getting, I mean, given a second chance to restart your career, would you still get into this field?
Uh, so frankly speaking, it's very tricky question, right? Because
Interesting.
I'll tell you the both side of data science. So people from outside world, they see that data science, AI, it's very fancy, it's very nice and all, right? But when you actually come inside, then you feel the frustration also, right? Because um, it's one of the most fast-paced industry right now in the
Yeah.
world, right? So every few days you are getting a new research paper from Google, Amazon, Facebook, from so many research companies, right, working on this. And you need to be at par, right? You need to be you have to learn all those things which are coming every day. Otherwise, you are just lagging behind the entire industry, right? So definitely this field is not for someone who is not ready to give that much of effort,
Mm,
that much of time,
mm,
and that much of energy. Because if you compare with some other traditional fields, there if you just learn something once, like if you're a lawyer or if you're a doctor, if you learned once you're done, like for the next 10 years you can just chill out, right?
mm,
Or you need to upgrade yourself, but let's say 2 years, once
mm,
in 2 year or 5 year. But in these field, like especially data science and the research is happening, you need to update every few days or every few week, right? Correct.
that's great. That's great. So, how was the journey like when you were getting started in this field? Was it challenging? Was it easier for you with regards to your background, or I mean, was it how was it like? How did you take it?
So for me, so I come from engineering background, right? So frankly speaking, I had no experience in like very heavy modeling or machine learning
Mm,
or the in-depth knowledge, right?
mm, mm,
So basically, when I started working on this, so mostly I started with like data engineer or distributed system or handling how can I handle huge data and do
mm,
processing. And slowly I started building the models around that and learning about the different machine learning models and AI, then deep learning, and so on. Gradually, you keep going up the
mm,
ladder, right?
mm.
But definitely, when I was starting, it was like it's like huge jungle and I don't know where to go and from where to proceed, right? Because now you have so many courses, so many instructors in the world, but at that time, like 6 years,
Yeah,
7 years, eight
no,
years ago, there was nothing.
nothing like that.
Yeah.
Great, great, great. So, was there some resources that helped you, some book you read, some platform you used to visit, or something like that that helped you to be able to break into this field?
Correct. So basically, definitely you can read a lot of books. There are some good books, but my opinion is more sort of I'm mostly like a hacker kind of person. So I mostly try to do that immediately. So I don't have the patience to read a complete 1,000 page book, right? So
Exactly.
mostly I used to follow Kaggle a lot.
Mm.
So there I used to do a lot of experimentation with the real world data.
Mm.
Second is I used to read a lot of blogs on analytics vidya,
Mm.
towards data science, or let's say KD Nugget, right?
Mm.
These used to give me like actual implementation or the core, like what is the best way to do this job,
Yeah.
right? So those things helped me a lot.
Great, 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 great. So, if someone is starting out in this field, whether a complete beginner or even someone who wants to do career transition, should they focus on getting more certification, or should they focus on doing more projects and maybe building portfolio? Which one should they give more weight to?
So I will give more weightage to the portfolio and the projects instead
Mm.
of certificates, because nowadays there are like thousands of diploma courses on data science
Yeah,
and tons of those things, right? Running online programs.
yeah.
But the problem is again, they teach you very basic stuff. They
Mm.
don't teach you the practical industry level expertise, right?
Mm.
That you get only when you actually build some sort of portfolio or build some sort of practical application.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great, great, great. So, how is the day-to-day activity like? Are you enjoying? Is it stressful? Do you have time to do anything else? I mean, for example, time for your family, or you're always with data? I mean, they say data scientists, you are more like married to the data. How is it like?
So yeah, that's somehow true. That the like work sometimes become very challenging.
Hmm.
And the problem is like once you are working on a problem, let's say if I'm stuck to this problem and I'm not able to reach to that accuracy and I'm not able to perform good, right? So that will be somewhere there in my mind, even if I'm just sitting down on my couch or even if I'm just relaxing, because there is no strict way to solve this problem, right? In software engineering, you have a set of guide
Mm.
way, right?
Mm.
Just hit this API, then hit the database, get the value, and show it. In data science, it's like there is no fixed path to
Mm.
solve a particular problem. It's
Yeah.
all about your creativity. How do you define your features?
Mm.
From where do you get the data? Like from 100 different sources. So, and do a lot of experimentation on parameter tuning. So sometimes it becomes really challenging. Like I remember, like sometimes sitting at the office around 8 p.m. and people are like going, and I'm like just trying some stuff. Yeah,
Mm.
why it's not happening? Why it's not happening? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Great.
struggling a lot of time. Yeah.
Great, 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 great. So, with regards to this kind of work that you do, for instance, sometimes you see that someone will finish his or her work as soon as possible, then they will just go home. Then you are there, maybe your code is not even running, or it has run and giving you some error, you cannot even figure it out. Meanwhile, I mean, some of the colleagues who do, I mean, supposedly less worker than you do still receive higher salary. How does it feel? How is your salary like? Are you happy with it? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So a lot of time I feel that like when I talk to the business folks,
Mm.
especially,
Yeah.
right? So what I feel is that I mean, I feel that their job is very easy,
With some
right?
supernatural ideas, they want you
Yeah, yeah. So
to.
especially during this pricing project, so I used to talk to all the business folks who are working day to day on the all the pricing and all those things. So I am working on a lot of code, a lot of data. I'm building some model, and then I'm building some accuracy. And when I go back to them and show them, they're like, "Oh, it's just 80% accuracy. What if 20% of time it is not working good?" And I'm like, "You're just sitting there and telling this to me.
You don't
You're
know what I went through before coming.
exactly, exactly." So yeah, yeah, this happen actually a lot of time. That sometimes I feel that we are actually overworked and
Mm.
underpaid if you compare with other teams
Yeah,
and other folks, because their work is much easier and much streamlined.
yeah, 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 yeah. For
That's
instance,
what.
the product manager will come and give you some supernatural ideas that they want you to solve, and then that will take you a lot of effort to do it. And when you go and present, they will come up with a different ideas altogether that they
So
don't right.
yeah,
But
so I remember once there was this business lead of the entire Myntra,
yeah,
right? So when I asked him, "What's your problem statement? What do you want me to solve?" So
mm.
he's like, "He build me something like super suit. So I have levers. So if I just want today, the profit should be more and revenue should be less. So if I just increase or decrease this lever, so I just do that, and the pricing for all the millions of styles are
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
Discount is
Yeah.
changing by that. And I'm like, oh dude, what is this?
You're not magician to do that.
Yeah.
The magician.
So like they will not even give you the proper problem statement. That also you have to define.
You have to define it. You have
Yeah,
to define it. Like you have to think for them. You have to solve for them. Yet
exactly.
they still want to receive the higher part of
Correct. And if after, let's say, 1 year of your work, after so many models, after so many experimentation, if you are able to do something good in production, then they will take the credit. They will write the mail, oh yeah, we have done this improvement in revenue and
They'll be the
margin.
one standing out there. Then they'll be saying, "In my company, I helped my team to do
Yeah,
this and that." But you, in particular, that did it, you don't
correct.
be highlighted. I
Yeah,
understand that,
yeah.
and that's one. So, any kind of mistakes or challenges that you face so far, or maybe when you're getting started, that you went through some mistakes that you think you could have avoided, or some challenges that you face at work that you would like to share.
Uh, so challenges in terms of work is definitely, like in the beginning, I used to directly go take the data and directly used to train the model and try a bunch of models.
Mm.
But now I'm more matured. I don't like before jumping to the modeling part. I spend a lot of time understanding the data, doing a lot of statistical analysis, so that I can, like get the juice inside that thing, so
Yeah.
that it should be visualizing in my mind.
Mm.
Then only I go to the next step. Yeah.
Great, 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 great. So, is mentorship necessary or self-guidance is enough? If someone is starting out, should they look for mentors? Should they do it by themselves? Which one is, I mean, should they put more weight?
Sure. So that's a good question actually. So I used to always feel that I need a mentor in this field,
Mm,
but I never got one actually.
mm,
So, but yeah, definitely, if you are able to get a good mentor who can guide you, then you can save a lot of time,
mm.
and you can do good stuff really faster.
Great, great, great. So, in general, how should one strategize to get into this field? I think previously the field was, I mean, it's still new, but if you compare it now, a lot of people are getting into it due to the hype out there. So, how do one strategize to get into this field and
It's 11 o'clock.
be able to break into this field?
So my advice to all the people who want to get into this field is, first, don't come just by the hype, or don't
Mm,
jump into this ship just because you feel that it is
mm.
fancy. It's not actually.
Yeah.
It's very dirty field, right? If you come
Mm,
inside, there is nothing fancy.
great, great.
It can be boring also.
Mm.
And second is, if you have done your, like,
That's
so
one thing. I was
yeah,
just
yeah,
my children.
sure. So if you have done your homework and if you are sure that you want to get into this field, then first thing is, my advice is, don't jump directly to the deep learning, neural network, or high funda models, right? First, go and learn the proper linear algebra, statistics, go and learn the basics, then come to this,
Great.
right? What people do, right? I just see people from like just 20-year-old kid doing bachelor's first year, they are talking about deep learning, LSTM, this,
Yeah,
that. And if you ask them what is eigenvalue, what is eigenvector, they
yeah,
are like,
they can
they
explain.
cannot tell that. Yeah, that's the problem.
Great, great, great.
So the problem is there is no depth. It's just like lying around in
Yeah,
the top,
just
like just
knowing the keywords, that's all.
exactly. Yeah,
The keywords and that's all. All right.
right.
So if someone has prepared and then it's time to face the interview, how should they practice? Because that is another part of a scary part to face, to be able to crack your interview and get into the role finally.
Can you please repeat your question?
So how should one crack the data science interview or data analysis interview? Because that part is quite scary. So after preparing, how do they break into this interview?
Yeah, that's correct. So cracking the interview is very tricky, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's not same across all the companies,
Mm,
right? If you look for software engineer role, for all the companies, interview will be same, almost similar,
yeah.
right? Like data structure, algorithm, and coding. But here it's very different,
Yeah.
right? So first try to do research on the company which you are applying for. If the company is more focused towards, let's say, scale like Amazon, Google, Facebook, definitely they will ask you a lot of coding also, data structure also, algorithm also.
Mm.
If your company is more sort of consulting company or purely some data startup or something, they won't be going much deeper into these things. They will be morely focusing on SQL, data science, machine learning, these kind of things, right? So even by looking at the company, and if you do basic research of the company, you will be able to get to know what kind of rounds they will have.
Great, great, great.
Yeah.
So, your final words, your final advice to people who want to get into this field, whether beginners or those who want to do career transition, your final advice and words for them.
I didn't get you. Can you please repeat?
Your final words, your final advice to those who want to get into this field, whether beginner or those who want to do career transition, your final
Sure.
advice and words for them.
So this is very important point which you mentioned. So I personally get tons of call from my friends
Mm.
from different fields. So I got a call from my friend who is working with Boeing company in Bangalore,
Mm.
and he is into an aeronautics field for 10, right?
Mm.
And he's expert in aeronautical and working with Boeing and all, like big company, right? But still he's calling me and like, no, there is no future for in my field. I want to come to data science, and I'm like, dude, don't do that, don't do that.
Mm.
Like you have been doing something, and you have studied something, and you are good in your field.
Mm.
It's possible that salaries can be slight difference, but that's not the only thing, right? It's
Yeah.
possible that you come from here
Mm.
there to here, and then you are more frustrated.
Yeah.
Because if you compare yourself with other people in this field,
Mm.
you will be like having just 1% knowledge in
Yeah.
data science, even
Yeah.
after doing so much hard work,
Yeah.
right? And then you are just a mediocre in the data science field, and
Mm.
you're not able to do something good. Whereas if you stick to that field,
Mm.
maybe after 5 year or 6 year, after some time, you will be like in a super good position,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you will be like the greatest person in your field, right?
Exactly.
Don't just uh, change the ship
Mm.
like in a. So right now I see that there is a panic mode in industry. Everybody is like, yeah, get me into data science.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's very scary actually.
Mm.
It's very scary in my opinion,
Great.
because if you see, right, if you apply the simple math and statistics, the number of jobs are still very less in data science.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you compare with normal software engineer,
Mm.
if there is, let's say, 1 lakh position for software engineer, there will be 1,000 position for data scientist,
Yeah. Exactly.
right? Now, for those 1,000 positions, there are already 1,000 good people with PhD or masters
Yeah.
from some good kick-ass college, and they have done a lot of papers and all. So they will be the first choice, right, as compared to you.
Great. 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 We've actually come to the end of it, and thank you very much. Thank you for the insights. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time a lot. Thank you. Thank you.